Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community, Oceania Hundake, together with Reverend Yutaka Yamada this morning on this Monday, the 3rd of November 2025, or the 14th of September in the 13th year of Chongyol Guk. Thank you all for coming, and let's begin with a bow to our true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, Chanchi Champumnimge, Kyombai, Paro. And let's recite our family pledge, both in Korean and English.
가전맨세 2. 전일국 주인 우리 가족은 참 사랑을 중심하고 하늘 부모님과 참 부모님을 모시어 천주의 대표적 가정이 되며 중심적 가정이 되어 가정에서는 효자, 국가에서는 춘신, 세계에서는 성인, 천주에서는 선자의 가정의 도리를 완성할 것을 맹세하나이다.
Family pledge number 2. Our family, the owner of Chongyol-guk, pledges to represent and become central to heaven and earth by attending the Heavenly Parent and True Parents. We pledge to perfect the dutiful family way of filial sons and daughters in our family, patriots in our nation, saints in the world, and divine sons and daughters in heaven and on earth by centering on true love. Thank you, and I want to share again Mother's prayer that she gave on the 28th of January 2020. Dearest and most noble Heavenly Parent, you had a dream. You created everything in your image, and finally you created our first ancestors, a man and a woman. You looked forward to the day when they would be able to complete their responsibility. However, that did not happen. As a result, you had no choice but to look for your lost children over a long 6,000 years. We, the true parents, are aware of the circumstances and the heart with which you could only carry out this arduous providence of salvation and restoration through indemnity. For the first time in 6,000 years, you sent to this land your only begotten daughter, who can complete the providence, and the Messiah at the second coming, who had promised to return and who can bring Christianity to fruition, finally came. However, the Christian sphere that you prepared for true parents has not yet become one with your providence. As the true parents, and knowing well how eagerly heaven has awaited this day, we began, through our holy wedding in 1960, the work of the blessing that gives rebirth and resurrection. Today, there are many blessed families established around the world. Now, on the foundation of having fulfilled the standard of national restoration, that I, your only begotten daughter, and the true mother, promise to accomplish in front of you within the 7-year providential course that followed True Father's ascension, the Chombo Providence, which will enable blessed families around the world to stand in the position of having fulfilled their responsibilities as blessed families, has begun. Heavenly Parent, please remember your children, of whom you are proud. May you guide and protect all the blessed families inducted as Chombo, so that they may all advance toward and soon bring about the day when you can realize throughout the world your dream and hope, which you have yearned to realize for so long. This will be the day on which you can say, everything has been accomplished. It is all fulfilled. Thank you. I pray and proclaim all these things in True Parents' name, Arju. Thank you, and let's give a warm welcome to Reverend Yutaka as he shares this morning.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you for joining today's morning Hundoke. Today is Monday, the beginning of the week. Let's put our chanson and heart, then begin the great day. So weekend, our true family could not visit to true mother's place. That's why there is no update from true family. So this new week, let's pray for true mother's health and safety. And also, let's proceed the providence which true mother is wishing us to continue. Yesterday weekend, we had the Chombo special Asia Pacific special Chombo event in Solomon Island. So I'd like to share the photo. So this is the Solomon Island. So Saturday and Sunday, together with Solomon's brothers and sisters, we had the Chombo event. Around 120 to 150 people gathered together, and we had also time. Then youth and second gen also organized the things. So this is beautiful. This is Saturday photo. So after this, today we will move to Brisbane and also prepare for the Melbourne workshop in this weekend. So please pray and support, and also Chonsong. And there's another activity. This is the Sydney side, the witnessing through exhibition. So thank you for your investment all the time. And this is the Marshall Island. So thank you for Marshall Island. Thanks. So this week there are many activities also. The Melbourne Jumbo workshop, and the New Zealand side is preparing the Youth and Family Day, right? So please also pray and support for all providential activity in Oceania. Okay, so I think that the things. Thank you. So today, let's also continue to have a fundok. So every morning we are sharing several messages about updating the true mother's situation, and also true father's word, true mother's word, heavenly parents' will, and also God's word. So through having the fundoke, let's learn the will of our heavenly parent and true parents, the Holy Spirit and truth, and also action. Through the things we can also proceed the providence. So today we will read the only begotten daughter, true mother in the words of true parents, the life of the only begotten Son, Jesus, and the purpose of his second coming. So let's study today. Okay, so Mrs. Jinin, please.
Although Jesus appeared on earth as God's only begotten Son, the Messiah, because of human ignorance and an unprepared environment, he faced fierce opposition and rejection. Finally, Jesus went the way of the cross, a course that was not originally intended. As a result, the completion of the providence for which God so yearned and had prepared for over 4,000 years of blood, sweat, and tears was prolonged once again.
Yes. After fall of Adam and Eve, God started the providence of the restoration immediately, because in order to fulfill the ideal of creation, God could not give up and immediately started the providence. So restoration of the providence meaning is to send the only begotten Son, only begotten daughter, through true parents, try to restart the new original lineage and to create the God's ideal family. And in order to fulfill this purpose, God led the providence. And finally, God sent the only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, but providence was not fulfilled and providence was extended. So we know those sad result. Please.
God could not give up, but continued to search for central figures in the human world who could uphold heaven's will. In the course of providential history, God established the Israelites as the chosen people and raised them over 4,000 years. How could it have happened, had taken 4,000 long years rather than just a month or two? For fallen people to come before heaven, they must pass through a course of indemnity. God established numerous central figures, but as a result of their inability to overcome the hurdles of indemnity that they faced, there were repeated failures. Even so, during those long 4,000 years, God prepared and ultimately sent the Messiah to them as promised. On the Cain side stood the vast Roman Empire, said to be the gateway to the whole world. God sought to find and establish a central people and nation, and through them to embrace the world through the mighty Roman Empire. However, the people of Israel and the religious leaders were unaware of this. In particular, Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, was unable to fulfill her responsibility. Today's Christians do not understand this correctly. The truth must now be revealed, and everything must be restored to its proper order. Jesus spoke to Mary 3 or 4 times, telling her that he needed to marry. However, Mary could not create the environment for Jesus to complete his mission.
Yes, so Yamada is sharing the message why it took for 4,000 years to send the Jesus Christ. Because there was the course of indemnity, and each person, each central figure, or each races have to overcome those course of indemnity. That's why it took time. And through passing those history, and finally, God created the foundation for sending the only begotten Son and finished the preparation for sending. So, this preparation is to prepare to rebirth all fallen humanity and to let them stand as heaven's children, heaven's family, or heaven's nation and heaven's world. But prepared, chosen people, Israel, could not recognize the will of God and the providence of God. That's why those situations happened. Mother is sharing about Mary. Mary received direct guidance from God or angel or direct she received the direct inspiration and she conceived about Jesus Christ and gave birth, but during that moment she could not realize the real heaven's will. Even she received a lot of guidance from heaven directly, but she could not recognize the heaven's providence, which God wanted to fulfill, centering on Jesus Christ. That's why this became the cause of the sad result of our Jesus Christ. Please.
How much darkness heaven felt when the only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, who had been found and anointed with such difficulty, suddenly went to the cross at the age of 33 without being able to fulfill the purpose of his coming. Can you imagine God's pain? According to the Bible, the pain of heaven was even reflected in the weather. As Jesus was crucified, darkness fell. Yet even seeing that phenomenon, fallen people could not realize who he was. Furthermore, even Mary, who had managed to conceive Jesus through the spiritual support of heaven and angels, was not aware of the providential will. She should not have engaged in married life. Perhaps she could have done so after helping Jesus to get married, but not without first creating the environment for Jesus. But because Mary failed to prepare the necessary environment for Jesus, she should not have done that. She did not complete her responsibility. As Jesus grew up, he told his mother at least 3 times that he needed to marry. However, while she showed interest in the wedding of others, she showed none regarding Jesus' own marriage. That's why when Mary pointed out the wine shortage at a wedding banquet, Jesus replied, "Woman, what have you to do with me? Heaven had labored for 4,000 years for the time when the world could find its center, yet the opportunity was lost."
Yes, Jesus was born and he went through his life course, but he could not complete it, the heaven's providence, and he went to the way of cross. So, how deeply have we thought about the heart of God and Heavenly Parent at that moment and prayed? Please pray for God's heart at the moment of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and please feel that Mother is sharing about Mary. So how important was Mary's responsibility and role? Please.
2,000 years ago, when Jesus Christ came as the only begotten Son of God, of heaven's lineage, untainted by Satan, Mary had the responsibility to create an environment for Jesus to fulfill the providence. Unfortunately, Mary was unable to find the only begotten daughter, the marriage blessing partner whom Jesus had so longed to meet. Even though Mary had conceived and given birth to Jesus through the Holy Spirit, she regarded the providence concerning him too lightly. Until now, even Christians have not been aware of this truth. For 2,000 years, Jesus has been portrayed as hanging on the cross. This is because they have been unaware of Jesus' full mission. Before he died on the cross, Jesus said he would come again. He planned to hold the marriage supper of the Lamb. How anguished Jesus must have been.
Yes, heaven's providence was that Jesus meet the only begotten daughter and to have the marriage supper of the Lamb. So, but Mary could not recognize this meaning, and Mother said, even new Christianity, they also could not realize the essence or purpose of Christianity or real purpose of Jesus Christ, and they are going the same way like Israelites. Please.
The all-knowing and all-powerful God established the principle that human beings must perfect themselves by fulfilling their individual responsibility. After the fall of Adam and Eve, God endured the long 6,000 years of the providential history of restoration through indemnity, eagerly awaiting for the people who could uphold God's will. Over the course of 4,000 years, God chose the people of Israel, established the foundation for a nation, and 2,000 years ago sent the only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. However, the central figures who had crucial roles, including Mary, Zachariah's family, Joseph, the religious leaders, and the people of Israel at the time, could not fulfill their responsibilities. After 4,000 years of painstaking preparation, heaven sent the only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, with whom God could directly relate. Despite this, the central figures who should have opened the way for Jesus could not fulfill their responsibilities. As a result, Jesus ended up dying on the cross.
Yes, thank you. There is clear principle. Mother said, the all-knowing and all-powerful God established the principle that human beings must perfect themselves by fulfilling their individual responsibility. So that's why even God is the one who led the providence, but because of the central figure, it took time to establish and fulfill the providence. So birth of the Jesus Christ and central figure. How was the result of the providence? They could not fulfill the responsibility. That's why Jesus went to the way of the cross. So True Mother repeatedly mentioning the circumstances of Jesus Christ and story of the central figure, because that moment was the sad and painful moment, and that the person who are there in the Christianity, even also the people who are living in the current era or society, still they could not recognize the heart of Jesus Christ and even the circumstances and heart of our God and Heavenly Parent. That's why still this is remaining as the main issue for fulfilling the heaven's providence. Please.
If the people of Israel and their religious leaders, and more particularly Mary, Zachariah's family, Joseph's family, had united with Jesus and led the way under heaven's providence, then through the Roman Empire as a stepping stone, the world centered on God, the kingdom of heaven on earth, would have come to fruition at that time. However, the people around Jesus could not fulfill their responsibilities, leaving Jesus no place to stand. In the end, Jesus had to go to the cross, but he said he would return. He planned that on his return, he would hold the marriage supper of the Lamb. Because Jesus was unable to take the position of the true parents, the returning Messiah must absolutely rise to that position.
Thank you. I will read the first part. Mother said, in the people of Israel and their religious leaders, and more particularly Mary, Zachariah's family, Joseph's family, had united with Jesus and led the way under heaven's providence. Then, through the Roman Empire as a stepping stone, one world centered on God, the kingdom of heaven on earth, would have come to fruition at that time. So there was the timing or moment when heaven's providence would have done, but they could not catch that important moment. Please.
Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, did not understand God's providence. As a result, she did not understand how it was that she came to give birth to Jesus. The religious leaders and the people of Israel at the time had placed their hope in the Messiah, whom God had promised to send. God fulfilled that promise and sent Jesus, but they were not able to recognize and receive him. They had hoped to rise up and dominate other nations with strong power overnight, but that was not how it happened. The providential history of restoration through indemnity is difficult. You might think that it would have required less effort for God, who is all-knowing, all-powerful, and can choose how to act, to abandon fallen Adam and Eve and make a fresh start. Yet God is a being who does not fail. God has expressed special love for human beings, and that love comes with responsibility. The people around Jesus were unable to create a protective environment for Jesus. Could God save humanity by just having Jesus, whom God sent as the only begotten Son, based on a long period of 4,000 years, die on the cross at age 33, unable to live to 100?
Yes, thank you. Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, did not understand God's providence. So this is everything. Mary was called with a great expectation and responsibility. And of course, Mary gave the birth of the Jesus Christ, but heaven's providence should not have ended at the birth of the Jesus Christ. So she could not realize this great providence. Please.
After waiting and waiting for 4,000 long years, finally, with great effort, God sent the only begotten Son, Jesus, through the people of Israel. However, they were unable to create the environment in which he could advance to the position of true parents. The gravity of their actions was immense, as they led to the death of the only one destined for the role of true parents. God looked forward to that one time and worked harder than anyone can imagine. At the time of Jesus, the people of Israel were under the rule of the Roman Empire, which was so big that it was said that all roads lead to Rome. In that situation, if Jesus had only been able to advance to the position of true parents, he could have absorbed Rome. The environment would have been such that Rome would have no choice but to accept Jesus. If that had happened, one world centered on God, the kingdom of heaven on earth, would have been realized 2,000 years ago.
Yes, thank you. Sending Jesus Christ on this earth was the way for emergence of the true parents on this earth. That's why, as Mother said, God really prepared for emergence of true parents and to fulfill God's providence of creation at that moment. So Roman Empire or China, it was connected through a Silk Road. And at that moment, there were also the development of the religious culture in each place, India side and also China side, or several area. So Roman Empire, even China and the religious group, if Jesus could stand together with only begotten daughter as the true parents and to be able to lead the providence, then what's happened? Already the God's restoration was completed at that moment, would have been completed at that moment. So we could see this effort was taken by God and Heavenly Parent, not only Israelites, not only just the lineage of Jesus Christ, but in the same time, God prepared in each place to fulfill of the providence at the time. That's why Mother also sharing, of course, Father shared many times the sadness, painfulness of unfulfillment of responsibility of chosen person, people at that time. Please.
God had no choice but to begin the providential history of restoration through indemnity, seeking people from among fallen humankind who could take responsibility. As we know through the Bible, God established Israel, and over 4,000 years passed through a course of restoration through indemnity, creating foundations from the individual to the family, tribe, people, and nation. Jesus had no relationship to Satan, and God could call him my son.
Yes, sending the only begotten Son was sending the only begotten daughter. This was not simple cause. That's why in Jesus' time, it took for 4,000 years, even sending the only begotten Son, because of all lineage, the foreign lineage. how to send the God's lineage among the foreign lineage of foreign people. So we could see those investment and those history. Please.
However, Jesus alone could not carry out the providence. The religious leaders and the people of Israel, who should have formed the environment around Jesus, were unable to fulfill their responsibility. If Jesus had been able to advance to the position in which he could fulfill his responsibility, he would have met the only begotten daughter at that time, and they would have become the true parents. Looking at the external circumstances then, heaven had established the mighty Roman Empire, a superpower of which it was said that all roads lead to Rome. If the people of Israel had become one with Jesus, they could have worked through Rome and the world of one family of humankind for which God had longed would have been realized. However, this was not possible due to the failures of certain people. Before Jesus died on the cross, he said he would return. On his return, he planned to hold the marriage supper of the Lamb.
Yes, thank you. Jesus' appearance, the only begotten Son, his appearance was not just happened because of the person who were living together with the Jesus Christ at that moment. The birth of Jesus Christ was the result of the investment and sacrifice of the ancestor or central figure and all those Israelites the effort. Finally, he came at that moment among that Israelites at that moment. So how important for their responsibility, because this happening was not happened because of only their effort or the person's effort who are living at that moment. They should understand the effort or sacrifice investment for their ancestors and even of course of God and Heavenly Parents investment. Please.
Although God sent Jesus, the only begotten Son, who could have fulfilled the purpose of creation, the people of Israel at the time, their religious leaders, even Mary, who had given birth to Jesus, and Zachariah's family were unable to fulfill their responsibilities. It was their responsibility to protect Jesus. In order for Jesus, who had come as the only begotten Son, to become the true parent, he had to meet the only begotten daughter. Mary was responsible for creating that environment. Mary should not have engaged in family life while Jesus was still living alone. We must correct this erroneous view of history. Jesus, who had lost his supportive environment, had no alternative but to go the way of the cross.
Yes, thank you. So Mother is mentioning the role and responsibility for those central figure, Mary, Zachariah, Joseph, or those families repeatedly, because through understanding correctly the providence centering on Jesus Christ, then we also could understand how to proceed for accepting, welcoming the only begotten daughter, and of course, second coming of the Messiah. So how do we understand? How do they understand those providence or their responsibility or their unfulfillment of the mission correctly? That's the important point. So this is the final slide today, please.
How difficult it must have been that 4,000 years passed before God could send the only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. And yet when he came, what was the result? the providence of salvation was not fulfilled by Jesus dying on the cross, then why did it take God 4,000 years? God has a dream that must be realized in accordance with the principles of creation. That dream is to become the true parent of humankind. When Jesus Christ was born as the only begotten Son, who could become the ancestor of humankind, he had to meet the only begotten daughter so they could advance to the position of true parents. That was God's dream. However, Mary, who was meant to protect Jesus, was unable to fulfill her responsibility. The family of Zechariah, the religious leaders, and the people of Israel at the time were not able to fulfill their responsibilities. Having lost the necessary environment, Jesus had no option but to give up his life.
Thank you. Mother said, how difficult it must have been that 4,000 years passed before God could send the only begotten Son, Jesus Christ. And yet, when he came, what was the result? So we can see sending the Jesus Christ was not simple job even for God and heavenly parent. There were so many sacrifice and long time sadness or painful history. And finally, Jesus could be born on this earth. But that moment, Israelites could not recognize and understand the meaning of Jesus Christ and meaning of God's providence. So why Mada is continuously telling this point? Exactly this situation would be happened at the current era for ourselves. We didn't do anything. Just luckily, we were born at the same age, same time with our true parents. But before emergence of true parents, there were 4,000 years, 2,000 years, 6,000 years. Heavenly Parent sacrifice all ancestors, central figure, chosen persons, peoples, sacrifice or offering were there. So how do we recognize or understand about this sacrificial offering or history behind of appearance of our true parents? That's why this heaviness or this kind of the importanceness of birth of only begotten daughter and also second coming of the Messiah. Once again, we should realize or understand before our true mother are going to the spiritual world. So mother is continuously talking. Now is the golden time, golden era, and we are so lucky to live together at the same age, same moment of the true parents. So we should not repeat the same mistake of the Israelites 2,000 years ago. They could not recognize the real meaning and also importance of the God's providence at that moment. That's why now how we could understand and how we could deliver this message to Christianity and all humanity. Of course, our blessed family, our brothers and sisters also same. So Mother is emphasizing continuously that much the understanding of the moment of the fairness of Jesus Christ, time, or central figure, or chosen people. This realization is important. So now Mother is in detention center, but surely Mother will come out and Mother will share the great message or providential message after coming out from the detention center. So at that moment, what kind of preparation do we do to receive those providential message and together with true mother? This is also important issue for each of us. So each day, let's really prepare and carry on the providence and offer the victory to our Heavenly Parent and true parents. So today is becoming also the beautiful day. So let's have a great time. Thank you for joining today's morning hundoke. Have a good day. 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you very much, Rev Yutaka, for sharing. This message, many times Mother said, and also you said as well, over and over again, we need to really deeply digest this understanding. It's easy to hear something and just let it go past, but your Mother wants us to understand deeply, really, this was the purpose of Jesus. The only begotten Son is to meet the only begotten daughter and become true parents. And really, it's so important to understand why it took God so long, because it wasn't God's responsibility. The restoration through indemnity was the only method, and we need to recognize that it was the only method, because God does not fail, and God puts in place everything that's needed, and it's us that have to understand and recognize what we need to do, and understanding what our responsibility is, and so this restoration through indemnity, we need to recognize, is not the responsibility that is meant. It's just fixing the mistake. It's just going through the requirement to bring us back to the point where we can then carry out our responsibility. So that statement, why 4,000 years, not a month or two? And it's really because of the failure of the central people at the time to overcome, as it said, the hurdles of indemnity, and they couldn't fix the problem. They couldn't pay the price, as to say. They couldn't recognize the importance of restoring the mistake, and so it just compounded. They just added together, because every time the central people failed in fixing it, then they had an added indemnity to do. So they just kept on going around in circles, thinking that they're following the path and moving forward, but they hadn't even cleared the debt. So we have to clear the debt before we can move on. And 4,000 years, and that was, we could say, oh, why did it take God so long? But it wasn't God was just watching us grapple with the difficulty of carrying out the task of repaying the debt, and like people who have home loans, it takes a long time. We have a debt, and it looks like moving forward, but the typical home loans are 30 years before you can move out of the debt. And so this debt, 4,000 years, it's we can't blame God. We have to point the finger to ourselves. And so Mother mentioned that, but then the whole thing Mother's talking about is responsibility and environment, and yet it was the indemnity failure that caused it to expand out from 4,000 years then to 6,000 years, until the only begotten daughter could arrive. And so the essential part after indemnity is continuing with the responsibility in the environment, and they didn't understand their responsibility, and that makes me reflect as well. Do I understand responsibility deeply enough? so we don't, cause another mistake that requiring another payment. So, I mean, Mary, the leaders, the people of the time, they all didn't understand their responsibility, and to create that environment. They were meant to protect, they were meant to nurture, they were meant to provide the marriage of the Lamb at Jesus's time. But they didn't do that because they didn't fully understand what their responsibility was about. And today, because of true parents, because of true mother, we have a clarity on what our responsibility is. Adam and Eve's responsibility was to realize the three blessings, and that's still us to do, but also at the same time, as blessed families, we have the responsibility to make the truth clear. Your mother highlighted that many times in this reading, to be really clear in explaining what is the truth. What is the reality of Jesus' time? It was a fundamental mistake in thinking that Jesus's life and crucifixion of the cross was the goal of God. It wasn't the goal or the dream of God. The dream was to have true parents and the embodiment of heaven on earth substantially. So we need to, as blessed families who understand the truth, we need to really make sure everyone clearly knows it. It's time to reveal the mistake that Christianity made on assuming that the cross was salvation. It wasn't. That's why Jesus said he has to come back and do the marriage of the Lamb. Anyway, just some of my thoughts and reflections this morning. So thank you, and open it up to anyone else who wants to share. So thank you. Yes, Mr. Arai, go ahead.
Hello, morning. Thank you, Reverend John. It's a natural message. I think Melbourne is just prepared for the Chombo. I thank you, Reverend John Yutaka, come back from Solomon. I think good picture. And just tomorrow, very famous Melbourne Cup Day. And but yesterday was 30 degrees. It's very hot suddenly. Then today is 14 degrees and all day rain. So anyway, I think kind of many people came to Melbourne. I think also Daniel is busy for prepare for the Chombo. I think Thursday, Rev Yutaka, and also Reverend Dr. Kim come, and also Reverend John come tomorrow, I think. I hope we can safely drive. Then I'd like to share about what's happening in Japan. And I think some of the people know, some of people don't know. That's why I share important point. As you know, newly Prime Minister was selected, Mr. Takaichi. Politics is very difficult, even an incredible right person, but not so easy to become Prime Minister. It was a kind of miracle. She became Prime Minister in Japan. Then after that, just nearly 10 days, so she has attended ASEAN for the meeting, but to come back, so she welcomed Trump. It is not so easy one, but also to meet after that, Korea delegate, but also after that, for Chinese delegate. Then really one of the incredible successful is welcome Trump, and so Japan and the United States getting so close. I think one of the great alliance. It is incredible, but also it was not so easy to meet Korean delegate. They are quite negative attitude to Miss Takaichi, but they overcame. But also after that, with Xi Jinping, with the Chinese delegate to meet, this is one of the difficult things. Many people say many, issue to China, but not so easy to tell directly to Chinese Xi Jinping leader. Then I think maybe 99% of Japanese people, or our leader, Japan leader, point at the meeting with Xi Jinping, cannot say exactly what is issue. But Ms. Takaichi did it. Everyone surprised. I think not only Japan, I think, this person, it is incredible. I think she has such a courage and also vision. Then I think she is one of the really she inherited from Mr. Abe, former prime minister. He was, he was killed. Yesterday I was really with a cry because Mr. Abe was one of the brilliant leader, but he was killed, gunned down. It's incredible. Then many people, negative media people accused he was connected to our movement unification church. That's fine. But because of Miss Takaichi, it's really, she established more incredible relation to US and Korea. I think basically Japan, United States, Korea unification, that is the most important alliance for God's side. So she was doing, and we never expected such a, for relation to build so quickly, just 10 days after she became 10 days. So they really, I felt she is, inherit Mr. Abe because of Mr. Takaichi showed such a development. That's why people respected Mr. Abe again. So I was thinking, Tsurumada is a difficult time. A detention center, I think from December 1st, trial started. Few times a week, maybe December, next year, January, I don't know how long, 6 months, I don't know. But at that time, if the people, this our family fair is go down or still keeping, or we can be one of the person have a vision and a life of faith and really show up. That means we really testify to Mother. That's why through the Miss Takaichi, she's incredible, standing strong, wisdom and courage, vision. Then former Prime Minister Mr. Abe, he was gunned down. Really, people started, it is incredible person. So I was thinking that way. So anyway, thank you so much for listening.
Give us a right. Yeah. New future for Japan. Yes. Thank you. Yes, Randall, go ahead. I can't hear you. It might be that headphones or something. Or...
Okay, how's that sound?
Yeah,
Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, fine. With the marriage of the Lamb in 1960, before father could have the blessing, then 3 couples were blessed from the 36 blessed couples first. So there had to be the foundation before the true only begotten daughter and the Messiah could marry. So in Jesus' time, I was looking up in John chapter 2. That's when the marriage of in Canaan was, and Jesus went there with his disciples. He already had disciples at that time, so it's kind of like, Father having to have the the foundation of having some support, the circle of support there from disciples first. So it wasn't as though Jesus was not going ahead and doing things. He was getting that foundation there so that he was able to marry. And I'm kind of wondering how the what Mary's role was and who the person was that was being married at that time. And it wasn't who Jesus was hoping to be the couple to be married together. But basically at that time, Jesus had the foundation so that he could marry if the different support was there. And so if it was after the disciples that were there, that means that it was after Jesus and John the Baptist had already met up, because Jesus got his disciples after meeting John the Baptist and going through the fast and then going out and getting disciples himself. So if Mary was invited there, probably John the Baptist family was also invited there. So it could be that the way that John the Baptist had blocked or not supported Jesus, not followed Jesus, then that would have been a big factor to help Jesus being blessed. Anyway, conjecture, nothing of proof there, but thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Certainly something to think and reflect about. It is time now for us to offer our unison prayer. So I'll just bring that up. Okay, let's pray together. Thank you. Chu, Chu, Chu. Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Reverend Yutaka, and I hope everyone has a great day and see you all again tomorrow. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.